Hey there, welcome to our channel where we bring you stories that matter. Today we're diving into the extraordinary tale of the 16th President of the United States, Mr. Abraham Lincoln. Now imagine this. You're born in a tiny log cabin, dirt poor, no father around, barely seeing your mother, and somehow you end up becoming the most powerful president in American history. Sounds impossible, right? Well, that's exactly the story of Abraham Lincoln. So stick around until the end, because Lincoln's story isn't just history, it's motivation for your own life. So let's get started. There's no symbol of America's roots more iconic than the log cabin. And Abraham Lincoln? He wasn't just born in one, he grew up in crushing poverty. His father left when he was 2, and his mother spent most of her time working at a tavern. That meant young Abe basically raised himself. At 7, he was already splitting rails, back-breaking work grown men usually did. By 12, he was working as a full-time farmhand. But here's the thing, Lincoln never let hardship define him. Despite his circumstances, he had a thirst for knowledge that wouldn't quit. Whenever he got a chance, he borrowed books and read them by candlelight. This unusual setup turned nights into his study sessions. So while other kids his age were out playing or sleeping, Lincoln was poring over books. These weren't easy reads either. We're talking about classic literature like Shakespeare and the Greek philosophers. It wasn't about the topic of the book for Lincoln, it was about sharpening his mind. It was his way of saying, you may not have money or fancy things, but you got a brain, and that's worth working with. This dedication paid off big time. As Lincoln grew older, he became known not just as a guy who worked hard, but as someone with a sharp mind and an impressive vocabulary. But let's be clear, it wasn't easy. Every step of the way, people underestimated him because of where he came from. They thought, who does this country boy think he is? But Lincoln used those doubts as fuel to prove them wrong. Now let's be real, Lincoln's journey wasn't a straight climb to success. In fact, it was filled with failure, over and over again. He lost 7 out of 8 elections he ran for. He failed in business. He even had times when he was so broke he had to work odd jobs, postmaster, storekeeper, even a jailer, just to survive. And if that wasn't enough, add on the prejudice because of his humble origins. People looked down on him, thinking he wasn't good enough for politics. But here's the part that really matters. Lincoln didn't let any of it hold him back. Even when he lost his first race for the Illinois legislature at the age of 24, he didn't see it as a defeat. Instead, he saw it as a learning experience. He learned how to campaign, how to connect with voters, and most importantly, how to lose gracefully. It's a lesson we could all use a little bit more of today. After that first loss, Lincoln went back to his legal work, saving up money to try again. He put himself up for more elections, and each time he hit a setback, he picked himself up, dusted himself off, and tried a new strategy. By the time he ran for the Illinois legislature again in 1834, he had turned the tables. He won and became a state representative. This wasn't just a personal victory for Lincoln. It was a victory for anyone who'd ever been told they weren't good enough. He proved that with hard work, determination, and a good strategy, you can overcome any obstacle. After serving in the Illinois legislature, Lincoln took on bigger challenges and won bigger victories. In 1846, he represented Illinois in the U.S. House of Representatives. Here he made a name for himself as a strong opponent of slavery. His speeches were powerful and moving, drawing crowds of supporters from all over. Then came the moment that truly shot Lincoln into the national spotlight. In 1858, he challenged Stephen Douglas for a seat in the Senate. Now, the election itself wasn't a win for Lincoln, but here's the twist. During the campaign, Lincoln and Douglas had a series of public debates. These weren't your regular run-of-the-mill debates. They were intense, passionate discussions about slavery, human rights, and the role of government. Lincoln's performance in these debates drew national attention. People from all over the country, not just Illinois, began to recognize his intelligence, his unwavering principles, and his ability to connect with people from all walks of life. It was during this time that Lincoln made his famous House Divided speech. He didn't shy away from the tough issues. He argued that slavery should be abolished and that the nation couldn't endure a house divided against itself. This speech sent shockwaves across the country and established Lincoln as a major player on the national stage. As the debates continued and the crowds grew larger, Lincoln's star shone brighter. Although he didn't win the Senate seat that year, he won something even bigger, the nation's attention. Suddenly, he wasn't just a lawyer from Illinois. He was a leading voice on the most important issues facing the country. In 1860, when Abraham Lincoln stepped onto the campaign trail for the presidential election, hardly anyone expected him to win. The odds were stacked against him. Many people thought a man from a small state like Illinois didn't stand a chance. Plus, he was a Republican running on an anti-slavery platform. And back then, Republicans weren't really taken seriously. But Lincoln had something those naysayers didn't: an unstoppable determination and a plan backed by principle. His campaign slogan was, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." He wasn't messing around. Lincoln won the election by a landslide, securing 180 electoral votes to his closest rival, Stephen Douglas's 11. When he took office in 1861, though, the honeymoon period ended quickly. The nation was on the brink of civil war. Southern states were fed up with what they saw as Northern interference on the issue of slavery. And as soon as Lincoln, who was against slavery, took office, 11 Southern states seceded from the Union, forming their own government in the Confederacy. It seemed like the country was on the verge of collapse, but Lincoln held firm. With support from northern states, he took a stand against secession. When Confederate forces attacked Fort Sumter in April 1861, Lincoln called for volunteers to put down what would become known as the Civil War. Despite the opposition, Lincoln led the Union to victory. Throughout the war, he faced tough decisions and immense pressure, but he never wavered on his beliefs. In 1863, in the middle of the war, he issued the Emancipation Proclamation. This document declared that all enslaved people in Confederate states were free. It was a bold, even risky move, but it changed the course of American history forever. By the end of the war in 1865, Lincoln had preserved the Union and set America on a path to end slavery once and for all. Just as the Civil War ended and the nation began to heal, tragedy struck. On April 15, 1865, less than a week after the war ended, Lincoln was shot by an assassin while attending a play at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. He died the next morning, but his legacy lived on. Today, Lincoln is remembered as one of the greatest presidents in American history. He's admired for his honesty, his courage, and his unwavering commitment to freedom and equality. He's also an inspiration to those who have faced adversity. Born into poverty with little formal education, he rose to become the leader of a nation. His story shows us that it's not where you start, but where you're determined to go that matters. So why is Lincoln still relevant today? Because his life and work continue to teach us important lessons about leadership, integrity, and the pursuit of justice. Your beginnings don't define you, your choices do. Thanks for joining us on this journey through history. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more exciting historical tales. Each episode is a new adventure through time, bringing you closer to the stories that have shaped our world. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and remember, the past is never truly past.